corporate grind. Yeah, there's a corporate grind on an international basis, on a daily basis for domestic, international, on a daily basis, just your local stores you go through. There's a rhythm and a ritual that you go through pretty much as you go through, develop your strategic plans, then you go through and start implementing them as you go through by developing, after your analysis, your mission statement, your vision statement, your values as an organization. All these are part of your daily grind as you go through the process. So strategic planning, it's a formal structure, and here's the following steps. Analyze external environment, analyze internal, define the company's business and mission. We'll talk about that in just a second. Define the objectives, really, as you go through your vision, mission, objectives, goals. That's a priority as you go through. Vision, mission, objectives, and goals, those things, that's how you define it. Quantify the goals. Don't just sit there and say, these are our goals. Quantify them, make sure you state them numerically as you go through. And then from all that, formulate strategies to make your goals happen. Oh, and then your mission, and then your objectives in the process you go through. Make plans as you go through. Strategic, tactical, and operational plans as you go through. Here's kind of a map as you go through the process of planning, and you'll see it really is broken down to a flow chart. You really want to sit down and analyze what's going on, develop your plans as you go through, set your corporate objectives and process as you go through. So there really is a function and a flow in actually creating a daily grind as an organization. Step one, analyze what's out there. We talked about this already, looking at the strengths and weaknesses of the organization. You need to know what the values of the organization are, because your managers need to know them also, and how they're going to develop responses to any change that happens in the environment to make certain that they're responding in kind to the values of the organization. Look on the environmental, social, and business trends. They're really more critical to strategy than in the past, but few act on it as they go through. So think about the values you have and how they represent the different problems and scenarios that come up, or challenges as you go through and how you meet them. Secondly, look on the corporate variables as you have. The value, those activities that add value to the final product or the service as you go through. If it's exemplary customer service, what does that mean? What does it mean in Europe versus what does it mean in Asia? Are there different ways that you show value to your client, your customer, as you go through? The value change analysis assesses where and the extent that the value is added to the final product and the service to make certain that you're meeting the expectations as you go through. Know your target customer. Sometimes your target customer might be 20 to 30-year-olds in the United States, but maybe middle America is different than coastal America as you go through. Maybe it's different in Canada or Mexico than the American market as you go through. Know your target customer specifically, regionally. Also, it depends where you're at on planet Earth to make certain that you're valuing that target customer in the process. What value does a company want to deliver to those customers, and how will this value be created as they go through? Here's what we call the value change. The manager legal aspect, the whole infrastructure of the corporate, the human resource, technology, procurement as you go through. And then once you have all that infrastructure, the organizational infrastructure, not the physical infrastructure, but the organizational, then you go through the whole process of product design, gathering the raw materials to sit down there and make that design a reality, manufacture, distribute, market, sell, and then follow up in the sales as you go through. That is all part of the process of creating an economic value, whether it's a product or a service that you're going through. Also, always keep in mind about the aspect of a SWOT analysis. Knowledge management is practical, identify, create, acquire, develop, the whole thing as you go through the analysis. And then sometimes there's a couple of things. Tacit knowledge, sometimes it's hard to express in words, pictures, or formulas. It's also hard to transmit to others. Where explicit, it's easier by that because of the fact it is more obvious, more plain in front of people. Sometimes you have feelings in the process, and that really is a tacit knowledge that sometimes isn't readily transferable. It's something accumulated on the inside of the person. Really is more intuitive rather than descriptive as you go through. Now, here comes your philosophy. Start codifying your philosophy as you go through. Your vision, your mission, your value statements as you go through. One time I was hospitalized at the Mission Hospital. And they had on the wall the 5 different values they had, and the mission of the hospital as you go through. And you're laying there in bed. In my case, it was the knee surgery I was recovering from, and you're sitting there, and have all kinds of medications pumped in your system and everything else. You got nothing else to do. The television, after the 5th hour of it, your mind has gone numb. You actually pay attention to the mission. They had an exciting mission and an exciting vision all spelled out. And I happened to mention it to an employee, and she got all excited, and she went off for 20 minutes saying about this. And she really believed that in that vision of the hospital. It was kind of exciting to see just a regular employee. She wasn't a big CEO or executive in the corporation. She was just an employee. She believed into what they had because somebody had told her about it. She had input in the process, and she believed in it. And so it was throughout the whole organization. What a great aspect, because of the fact she believed, and she believed in the values, the joint values, as he went through. Your vision statement describes the desired future position as you go through. Usually it's relatively simple, 1 or 2 sentences most on your vision. And the vision and the mission, they go hand in hand as you go through, because the mission defines how you're going to take that vision and what the purpose and the scope of it. Here's a good one from Google: to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. They've done pretty well. They're underneath investigation right now by Congress, reporting to market on information. Not a bad position to be in. Going back to the founder's vision for so long as it's been implemented, they're taking over planet Earth with their vision. Pretty good. They did a good job. They might be in trouble for it now because it was too good of a job. That's okay. Okay, they're out there in the process. So as you go through and keep on defining that, you want to have your value statement clear, concise, descriptive of the values, beliefs, and priorities that you expect from each employee to have up and down the whole organization. Reflect how you're going to respond to the customers, the suppliers, bringing the people in, and also those around you and the environment around you. Here's Kiva. We envision a world where all people hold the power to create opportunity for themselves and others. I'm not quite certain what they said. Okay, but that being said, it sounds pretty cool. Is it clear, concise? What about the value? They really want to have people hold power and create opportunity. The only